Hey there, it's Tara. So today I want to talk about the practices we can use when we're hearing that voice of self-doubt. The first one, what you can think of as your most foundational practice, is to start to simply notice it when you're hearing that voice of self-doubt. Because for most of us, this has become the water that we're swimming in. It's like the background music that is often playing in our lives, and we don't notice it for what it is anymore. So you might just be used to hearing, oh, you look ridiculous. You're making a fool. You're about to totally screw this up. You don't know what you're talking about. That was a stupid thought. Why are you such an idiot? All that kind of stuff. Whatever your inner critic says to you, it can become that background music that you don't notice anymore. And then you're taking direction from it unconsciously. So, our first practice is to just simply develop the muscle, the habit to notice, oh, I'm hearing from my inner critic right now. When I'm hearing things in my own head that I wouldn't intend to say to someone I love, when I'm talking to myself in a way I wouldn't intend to talk to someone I love, I'm hearing from my inner critic. I'm just going to name that. And the really interesting thing about that is when we've named it, there's immediately a kind of waking up from the trance from it. I don't identify with it right then as the voice of truth. I'm reminding myself it's the voice of the inner critic. And that might be enough to just help me unhook from that thought. Or I might need a little more. So, first foundational practice, naming and noticing that voice of self doubt. Now, if we need to in the moment, we can add on a couple other practices. So, one that can be really useful, fun, bring a little lightness to it is to create a character, really like a exaggerated caricature of who is this voice of self-doubt in you. Is it the perfect executive career woman who knows what to do in every situation and is always drilling you for not working hard enough? Or maybe it's the perfect mom and partner and domestic genius who's running the orderly, gorgeous home, right? Or maybe it's some combination of the two. Or maybe it's the popular teenage girl who just always, thinks everybody needs to be acting cool all the time and you're not cool enough. Whatever it is, you can think about what's the personality of your inner critic and create a character for it. And if you grab the guide that's linked below, you'll get a more detailed process for how do you create that character. And then when you're hearing that inner critic thought, you can think, oh, yeah, that's Miss Popular. Of course, she's always really concerned that I'm not cool. Or, oh, yeah, that's the perfect, domestic goddess who's always telling me the house is a mess. Doesn't care if I connect with anyone in the house or have a happy life in the house. She just wants it to look perfect, right? So you can kind of remember that character doesn't have the same values or priorities as you. That character is not the authentic you. And that can help us to take the voice a lot less seriously. If you go deeper with the Playing Big book, or if you want to join one of our courses, we also talk about how do you really dialogue in a way with that character to understand what are they afraid of, what's motivating them, what do they need to be reassured of so that they can have less of a hold on you. But to just get started, it will go a long way to simply notice the voice of the inner critic coming from that character. A third tool you can use has to do with using kind of your imagination, using imagery, using your ability to visualize. And sometimes it can be really powerful to take that inner critic character in your mind's eye and imagine just sending them off on an awesome vacation, sending them out of the space, send her for a spa day. Or sometimes you can imagine a volume dial and just think I'm turning down the volume on the voice of self-doubt. It's getting really soft now. And then you might check in with your belly and take a few deep breaths. When I say check in with your belly, I mean like just go down into where the gut feeling lies for you. And sometimes that deeper voice in us lies. And like, what else is true here? So, okay, I know my inner critic is just ranting and raving that no one's going to want to talk to me at this party. I'm going to turn down the volume on that voice. I'm going to take a deep breath and check in with my belly and what else do I notice? What's that voice saying? And that voice might be saying, I'm just nervous because I don't know anyone there. Or it might be saying, oh, I really had a bad experience at that one other party and we never really felt our way through that. And I'm kind of worried this one's going to be like that. Or it might be saying, actually, I'm really curious who's going to be there. And I hope I can talk to some of the other parents at my kid's school that I haven't met yet. So you're just checking in with how do I really feel outside of those self doubts and leaning more into those parts of you. So turn down the volume dial, send the inner critic character out of the space, and that can be really powerful too. Now, let's talk about the fourth tool, which is about using your values, your deeper values to power you through rather than relying on or waiting on confidence. So, what do I mean by that? Well, we've been talking about self doubt and the inner critic, and we could say that's about not feeling too good about ourselves. That's about the ways we might be thinking we don't measure up. And then the opposite of that, we might think is confidence, where we feel good about ourselves. We feel like I can do this. But for most of us, feeling confident is not that reliable. It doesn't stay consistently. And what do we do then if we were relying on a sense of, I got this, it's going to be okay, and then something doesn't go great? Because sometimes, right, it doesn't. But what's deeper than confidence in us, what's more powerful than even a positive assessment of ourselves, is our values. Because our values can lead us to action, whether things went well or not, whether we succeeded that time around or not. Our values are actually so deep rooted in us, and we do care about them so much that they can propel us forward to show up, to make a contribution, even when we're not feeling confident yet. So let me give you an example of what I mean. I'm thinking about a client I worked with who had a new job. She had worked so hard to get this job. It was a big new role. It was the kind of leadership role and the kind of company she had been looking for. But when the week came that it was time to start, she was getting really, really scared. And her inner critic was starting to convince her, I don't have what it takes. This was a mistake that they hired me. All of those kinds of thoughts. So instead of trying to pump herself up with confidence, because I know that often doesn't work, we instead looked at what are the values that you want to lead with in this new job? And she said, oh, well, collaboration. That's like my number one value. I love collaborating with people. I love people. I chose a company where I liked the culture and I liked the people. So I'm really excited about leading with collaboration, leading myself out of my value of collaboration. And so then we talked about, well, what does that look like for week one? And all of a sudden, instead of her inner critic thoughts, which were all about how's she going to show up perfectly and is she going to measure up in everyone else's thoughts, she started thinking, well, if my value of collaborating with people was leading me, oh, I would focus on different things in my first few days. I'd spend a lot of time meeting with people. I'm actually now feeling really curious to get to know them as I think about that. I can think about the people that I'm most excited to collaborate with and how I'm going to quickly get into meetings with them. And all of a sudden, the fear started to move out of her body, out of her system, and she started to get excited about living from this value. So I've watched that happen over and over and over again. And you can think about in a situation that you're feeling intimidated or a lot of self doubt about now, what value of yours do you want to have lead you? Is it gratitude? Is it generosity? Is it integrity? Is it hard work? Is it adventure? Is it delight and joy? What is the value that you want to have lead you? And if that value is in charge, what does that look like in this situation? And you'll notice how that's not about getting over self doubt by thinking better of ourselves. It's about leapfrogging over self doubt by thinking bigger than ourselves and by connecting to something a lot deeper than our own self concept and our own self assessment. So, you have four very different tools to work with there. The foundational tool, which in a way we always start with, of just naming and noticing, oh yeah, hearing from inner critic right now. Then you might want to add on seeing that voice, inner critic voice, as coming from a character that can help you take it a lot less seriously and differentiate it from your own true voice. You might engage your imagination and visuals, turning down the volume dial on that voice or sending that character out to take a break and let you think for yourself a little bit. And then the last one, you're going to tune into a value of yours that you want to have lead you in the situation instead of relying on either listening to that mean voice of the inner critic or trying to find some big voice of confidence to pump you up. Go for something bigger, go for something deeper, go for the value that you want to have lead you in the situation instead. For more on the inner critic, check out the resources below. This is ongoing work, so you want to continue to use all these tools when self-doubt comes up and continue to use the resources below to take your skills in quieting that inner critic voice even further. Thanks so much for listening.